Human activities, from pollution to overpopulation, are driving up the Earth's temperature and fundamentally changing the world around us.
Each year, 1/3 of all the food the world produces is lost or wasted. Not only does this mean an economic loss, it means that all of the natural resources used for growing, processing, packaging, transporting and marketing that food were also wasted. And as agriculture and fisheries expand into wild areas, overexploit natural resources, forest and marine habitats are lost, along with their biodiversity. Above all, wasted food emits some 3.3 gigatons of greenhouse gases. If this were a country, it would represent the third largest emitting country in the world. This cannot continue.
Does plastic also affect our climate? What is the number one thing plastic is made of? Well, every year we use around 17 million barrels of oil to make plastic water bottles. This is enough to fuel around 1 million cars a year. So plastic emits CO2 during the production process, transportation, and recycling or waste incineration. So yes, plastic negatively affects our climate and contributes to global warming.
Transport, together with agriculture and heating, is one of the main causes of air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions, which contribute to global warming. But not every mode of transport emits the same quality of CO2. That depends largely on the type of fuel used. A tour of carbon emissions and distance travelled for different types of transport during an 8-hour journey can illustrate this. Contrary to popular belief, ferry boats are by far the worst polluters, with carbon emissions off the scale. More than 2,000 kilos of CO2 are emitted per passenger if the ferry travels at night, covering a distance of just 400 kilometres. Planes fare better, releasing 750 kilos of CO2 per passenger over a distance of 6,500 kilometres. The exact quality varies according to the type of aircraft used, how it's loaded, its cargo and weather conditions. Next in line is the car. Based on 4 people travelling together, each one has an average carbon output of 270 kilos for an 880 kilometre journey. Trains are a more environmentally friendly form of transport. A mainline train would emit 72 kilos of CO2 per passenger while travelling 1,280 kilometres. Last but not least, cycling and walking are the cleanest forms of transport, producing no carbon emissions. During an 8-hour period, a cyclist would cover around 120 kilometres and a pedestrian 40 kilometres.
When we burn fossil fuels to produce energy, they release greenhouse gases into the air. These emissions, such as carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, and fluorinated gases, trap heat from the sun in Earth's atmosphere, leading to a rise in global temperatures. This creates a cycle where air pollution contributes to climate change, and climate change creates higher temperatures. In turn, higher temperatures intensify some types of air pollution.
The problem is the rate at which we harvest them. Currently, humans are cutting down forests at a rate of 36 football fields per minute. Deforestation affects many ecosystem functions, but the question we're asking in this video is, how does this affect the climate? When we cut down large amounts of trees, carbon dioxide is no longer absorbed and it stays in the atmosphere. This is a problem because carbon dioxide acts as a greenhouse gas. This means it acts like a greenhouse by absorbing and re-emitting radiation back down to Earth. We further contribute to this when we burn forest materials because the carbon stored in them is then released into the atmosphere. Greenhouse gases have a warming effect, and because large amounts are being released into the atmosphere all around the world, they are having a global warming effect. On the local scale, however, deforestation is having a different effect.
How the burning of fossil fuels has added extra carbon dioxide to the atmosphere, and we will see how this leads to climate change. Human-induced climate change, or global warming, we need to understand something about burning fossil fuels. Fossil fuels, like oil, coal and natural gas, are the remains of living things from millions of years ago. They are mainly composed of carbon with varying amounts of hydrogen. If you collect all the exhaust gases from your car during a journey and squash them into a bottle so that they can be weighed, compared with the weight of petrol burnt, the exhaust gases will weigh much heavier because oxygen from the air has been added. Here is before the world became industrialized by burning fossil fuels, the carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere was about 0.28%, tiny compared with oxygen at 21% and nitrogen at 78%, but enough to keep us warm. Without this natural blanket of insulating gas, the Earth would be too cold to support life as we know it. But this carbon dioxide, released when fossil fuels burn, adds to the existing carbon dioxide levels, which are now nearly 50% higher than in pre-industrial times. Although we get a daily supply of heat from the sun, the Earth normally loses this at night and in the cool seasons, so that the average temperature of the Earth remains constant. But this status quo is starting to change. As humanity adds carbon dioxide into our atmosphere, it is as if we are putting a sweater round the planet. The extra layer isolates the heat, and it cannot escape as easily. Whilst it's easy to take off your sweater, the Earth cannot lose its greenhouse gases as quickly, and we keep adding to them. By putting our planet in a sweatbox, we are causing wide-ranging consequences for our climate. Some people think that living things contribute to the enhanced greenhouse effect because they breathe out carbon dioxide. But this carbon has come from their food, and that's come from plants, which took carbon from the atmosphere in what is called the carbon cycle. Video for that. Even burning wood doesn't contribute to the enhanced greenhouse effect, as long as the trees you cut down are replanted. However, the carbon in fossil fuels has remained trapped underground for hundreds of millions of years, so it is extra carbon that's been added to the natural cycle. We are also throwing away other gases into the atmosphere which help trap infrared radiation, and so also enhance the natural greenhouse effect. They are methane, especially from paddy fields and from cows, and nitrous oxide from car exhausts. Why does this rise in temperature cause our climate to change? Well, there is extra energy trapped on Earth, already causing glaciers and ice caps to melt. With more energy in the atmosphere, weather becomes more extreme, so there are more floods, droughts and storms. We have recorded record global temperatures at the start of the 21st century. The next videos look at the consequences of climate change in more detail. So in summary, we recalled that the natural greenhouse effect is a good thing and keeps the Earth warm enough for life to exist. However, burning fossil fuels containing carbon that's remained underground for hundreds of millions of years adds extra carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas, to the atmosphere. We have polluted the atmosphere with other greenhouse gases too, such as methane. All these gases enhance the natural greenhouse effect and cause global warming.
It's actually called downcycling, because plastic never goes away. The answer is quite simple. By using reusable drinking bottles, every person could save up to 200 liters of bottled water every year. So don't wait and start drinking tap.
There are solutions. we can limit toxic pollutants, smog, and greenhouse gases by decreasing the use of fossil fuels, such as in transportation, manufacturing, and electricity generation. Reducing air pollution not only contributes to a cleaner environment and better human health, but can also slow the rate of global warming.
But it can't be completely stopped because humans rely on it so heavily. So what can we do? One way to fix this problem is to change how we harvest trees. Instead of cutting down every single tree, we can selectively choose trees to cut and leave others to try and help maintain some of the ecosystem functions. Protecting and conserving ecologically sensitive areas is another way to decrease impacts of deforestation. By selectively choosing regions, we can conserve old-growth forests and also protect endangered species habitats. You can make a difference too. Just follow the 3 R's. The first one is reduce. This means using less. Whether that be paper, tissue, or even toothpicks, just try to use less. The next one is reuse. This one is easy and can save you money. For example, use reusable containers and cups instead of disposable ones. Another example is to reuse old furniture or pass it on to someone else. And lastly, the third R is recycle. This means disposing of waste properly. Make sure recyclable items go into the correct bin so that they can be remade into something new.